So what if Squid Game had an African version? You see, it's not so far-fetched to think that is actually a possibility, because in the 7th episode of the series called VIPs, there was a piece of dialogue over here.
Right, the contest in Korea was the best.
And I did mention this in my breakdown, which you should check out over there. But this is very much a possibility now, because aside the fact that it's happening in Korea, it could be happening anywhere else. And where better of a place could it, or where worse of a place could it happen than Africa? So let's talk about it. So just like foreign TV shows that have been adapted in real life into an African setting, the same thing I think could be done with Squid Game, or even if there was the possibility of, say, a season 2 of Squid Game where there would be cutscenes of other variations of the Squid Game in other parts of the world, and if there was going to be an African scene, I think one of these 7 games, if not all of these 7 games, should be put into this cutscene, if that ever is a possibility. And there has to be that game or those games that pretty much maintain the originality of the original Squid Game that we saw in this past season. And before I get to the games that I think should be included, mind you, this is all for entertainment purposes. It might seem a little cynical because there are those games you played as children that may honestly come across as weird, since most of the games in Squid Game were children's games that were being played to save a life. It's messed up, but yeah, so just keep that in mind as we go along. So easily, red light, green light is going to be the first game that you want to include with this particular game. Now, I think you have to change a few things. For example, the door in question, I think has to be changed. Make it an African traditional looking door, and then maybe change the dialect which the door says the red light, green light, but just don't make it, just make it English, because I think if you make it a traditional dialect, then you have all sorts of conversations that you don't want to have about tribes, and oh my god, this is more representative of Africa than another tribe, and it's going to be very messy. So as much as possible, just don't do that. But yeah, I think, wow, that visual of the door starting to look very creepy in my head, I won't lie. And then you have to play Ganondikum. Now you definitely need to use one of these. Now this is not the original malt and milk. I mean, I remember the one that was made by Neutral, and I don't know what happened to that one before we started getting these ones, but those ones always had a cow in the middle. The cow in the middle, some people tried to chew around it, so that could be the basis of that game. Of course, that licking thing that they were doing clearly wouldn't work, and this game I think will really frustrate people, because there is going to be that one person that pops a biscuit into their mouth thinking, oh, all I have to do is eat it, and then, well, you know, bang. Now, we all hate math, unless it comes to money, but this has given so many people nightmares in their childhood. Personally, my worst math experience came in class 4, and they had to teach us this thing. It was the weirdest thing, but it was like it looked like Sudoku, where there were like 9 boxes, and then you put one number here and another number in the corner and another number somewhere. You have to find where the rest of the numbers would go. And I'm like, why do you teach children that sort of stuff? It's one of the things about life or about school that never applies to real life, and it doesn't make sense. That and algebra, I don't know whose bright idea it was to mix letters and numbers. Like, do you know how many lives you ruined because of that? Anyway, all I'm saying is the one game I think you should put in Squid Game should be mental. Mental was a Monday morning staple in most schools. Like, there was the one thing you dreaded, but it was kind of a highlight too, because you didn't even think about who couldn't answer right. It's just, okay, am I going to get this right? Am I going to get this right? And it's like you had like a 2-second window to answer, and if I never went through that much. I only had like 2 sessions, but I think I did okay. I don't ever remember being on the wrong side of the stick. Okay, maybe I remember one of those times, but besides that, you need to include mental. Also, it's going to be a bit ironic because I think you have a high possibility of getting people out, but oh boy, I can't. Wow, mental could actually end somebody. Now, somewhere in the middle of Squid Game, there was this marble game where you had to acquire all of them from your opponent without any violent tactics being resorted to. And I think the one game that would really define this in the African setting, and the one game that should be played, is Owari. or some of you call it Mancala or something. Hey, brofo. And the rules of the game are fairly easy to understand. You have to be strategic. You have to be able to acquire a majority of the marbles from your opponent, and I think you could keep playing until you acquire every single marble from your opponent. Now that's going to be very difficult to do, and it might be endless in most cases, but ultimately the one person with the most marbles wins. And oh, I don't know if any of you has been cheated, but I remember my cousin would cheat a lot, right? She would slip, and I don't know, I really don't understand how she did, but she would slip some of the marbles that she didn't have, right? She would slip some of them without me knowing. Oh, I think I know how she did it. She was leaving a couple in her hand and then going forward. That was something. That was really something. But I think those tactics and those cheating tactics and other things that people would use to win the game would be very interesting to see play out on screen. Another game which I really am thinking about that should be included is Ludo, because Ludo it stretches across a lot of African countries. Like, people just play it and easily understand the rules. It's so simple, you know, the whole thing of kicking and retracting people out of the prison of some person's color. And if you get what I'm saying, you get what I'm saying. But basically, Ludo is one of those games I think should be included. But there are two more games that I think should be in there. One of them is definitely going to leave one person out, but let me just say what I have in mind. So, Penalties. Now, this one personally is a Ghanaian nightmare, because out of the many penalty shootouts we've had, I can only remember just one that we've won, and that was all the way in 2009 at the Egyptian under 20 World Cup or something. It was on a Friday night. It was such a good night. But penalties definitely, and I'm saying this because of one person in particular.
Finals of the World Cup, and he hits the bar.
It's in 11 years, but I'm not sure. I don't know if I've let it go. But I am including penalties because soccer, or football as we like to call it here, is a staple of African sporting culture. So I really do think that that game should be in there.
Acquire Joe! Say everything, but destroy everything.
But this is the game I was saying needs to be in there if you want a single winner, and that's musical chairs. Now, if you ever went to a friend's birthday party growing up, you definitely played musical chairs. At least you were forced to. And I don't know about you guys that have lost, but I don't know, I've played musical chairs like what, 7-8 times. I've never lost the musical chairs. Like that's kind of a fun fact, I don't know. But I've never lost a musical chairs game ever.
I told y'all.
I have a pretty good streak with musical chairs, kind of like Undertaker WrestleMania at one point. But yeah, this has been very interesting to make. I hope you found it relatable, and yeah, leave your comments below. Let me know if you think any more games would be or should be considered for musical chairs, or no, for Squid Game. I got carried away. But yeah, that's going to be it. Thank you so much for watching, and if there's a video that you think or that YouTube thinks would be the best for you, click over here. If you want to see my most recent upload, click over here. My name is Kpakpo. I will see you guys very soon. Take care. Bye.
Back on deck on my fly.